Hey love, I'm Gena, a fitness, nutrition, and self-love coach, helping high-achieving women heal their relationship with food and their bodies so they can finally feel free, strong, and confident in their own skin. If you've ever felt stuck in the cycle of restriction, binging, and body shame, trust me, you are not alone. On this podcast, we're calling out diet culture BS, building your dream body without the obsession, and getting real about what it actually means to love yourself in a world that constantly tells you not to. I've been there. Anorexia, binge eating, body hate, you name it, I've lived it. And now I help women just like you find food freedom, feel sexy in their skin, and take their damn power back. So get ready, because the Fit Without Obsession podcast starts now. Okay guys, today is a very special day. It's the first day of having a special guest on the podcast. All right, special guest, do you want to introduce who you are?
Hey everyone, it's Trey. It's Gena's husband. I'm so happy to be making the very first appearance on the podcast, of course. I'm so excited to kind of be answering some questions and just getting to know, the podcast and everything that goes on with it.
Nailed it. So Trey and I have been together, I don't know, almost...
So we started dating back in November of 2019. We met like a month or two before that. And everything kind of just took off real quick. And it just became like this true, amazing roller coaster of a journey. And, since that first day, it's been nothing but laughs and memories. And I just have to say real quick, I'm so proud of her. She's always made sure to keep to her goals. And first thing she told me when we started dating was that she wanted to have her own business with a podcast. And here we are, her own business with a podcast.
Well, thank you for that. We're going to dive into some more focus on you today, because I actually want to get a lot of perspective on kind of just you seeing me go through my healing journey, because obviously I've talked a lot about it on the podcast and you know a lot about my journey, but I kind of want to get more your perspective today. And I guess you kind of answered my first question, that did you ever think you'd be on a podcast talking about food freedom?
Well, kind of answering back on that first question, it's something that you always talked about, something we've talked about together, and we just needed to make sure you got there and what we needed to do to make it happen. And over the last couple of years, we've done all the research, we've gotten all the things together, and now we actually have your podcast out. And I think it's so great, and it's helping so many people. It's one of my favorite listens. So yes, absolutely, I did think I'd be on a podcast.
Well, I guess maybe since you met me, but probably not pre-Gena.
Yes, pre-Gena, did think I'd be doing a podcast, but
here we are. And the first thing I want to really talk to you about, I'm very interested on kind of like your first impressions of my relationship with food and my body when we first started dating. And I guess to tell listeners, when we first started dating, kind of time period, I had gotten out of treatment. I had actually gone through my weight gain journey, and I actually met Trey at my heaviest weight ever. But he didn't really ever make me feel like my weight mattered in our relationship in our beginning stages. But I guess to you, what were your first impressions, just kind of seeing the way that I was around food or conversations I was having around food?
I mean, I definitely know that when we first started dating, food conversations were very hard, very triggering. I know it was something where we were kind of keeping that in mind wherever we went out to eat, or if we were with family or friends. We were always kind of pre-arranging what we were going to have and what we were going to do for food. And, when we definitely started doing the long distance thing, we definitely had to go into planning more of what meals we would eat together on the weekend, what meals we wouldn't eat together, where we would get food from. There were certain places that were okay for us to go to, whereas some places were definitely a no-go.
Yeah, I definitely feel long distance for sure. We did date long distance during COVID. I definitely feel like that brought out a lot of things, especially because we were staying with your family or my family a lot of the time. So a lot more people were kind of immersed in that thought process around food. But do you ever feel like there was a specific moment that was just really hard for you to watch, or maybe you thought to yourself, is this normal? What the hell is happening right now?
I definitely would say when we first started dating, I had never really been around anyone who had an eating disorder, or I didn't know much about eating disorders. I knew they existed and I didn't know exactly what kind of entailed and everything about, some of the conditions, some of the things that you had to look out for. So like once we did start dating and, I would see those moments. I think that one of the first times was around your birthday. We had gone out and we were at Busch Gardens and we were trying to figure out, what food we would get, where we wanted to go. And they have so many great foods in Busch Gardens, but we were kind of more of looking to bring something from outside that was a little bit more comfortable versus something, that was in the park already. And, at that time, I didn't know anything about eating disorders. So that was kind of like my first chance to really understand what an eating disorder or what it could entail. But from there, it was just kind of like finding out what made you comfortable, what made you uncomfortable, and just kind of figuring out that middle ground of, where we could go and where we couldn't.
Do you feel like it ever got in the way of our relationship? Kind of all of the time and energy we would spend talking about food, or just like my brain space so focused on food all the time?
I definitely would say, when we first started dating and while we were in our early stages of dating, it definitely kind of posed not a complication, but it also made it kind of harder trying to figure out where we wanted to go. There's some place where you could feel comfortable, but some place that would also allow you to try new foods and just to try new things and eating heavier meals or smaller meals and just making sure you had that comfort zone. I don't say it would hold us back any from our relationship, but I will definitely say that it did pose some challenges in us having a harder time trying to figure out where to go.
No, that totally makes sense. And I feel like something that's really important, probably for listeners, is figuring out kind of conversations they should be having maybe with their partners, and also how their partner can help support them. So I also want to talk about a little bit like what support can actually look like when you are in a relationship with someone that could be struggling with food. And the first thing I kind of want to ask is, what helped you show up for me when I was healing, even when you maybe didn't understand it? Because again, you didn't really have exposure to this with anyone else. You didn't have any of these own issues for yourself. So what allowed you to help show up for me when I was having those rough moments? And I'll even say this was still like kind of post eating disorder, but I was still stuck with a lot of the disordered behaviors that I had before.
So for me personally, something that really helped me understand what an eating disorder was doing two things. First thing was taking time to listen. You had been through so much, and just taking time to kind of hear your stories, hear your pains, your struggles, your victories, and it just kind of taking time to process all that really helped me understand what I needed to do for you. The other thing that I can say is research. Eating disorders can come in all shapes and forms. And one of the things that you have to kind of do is just kind of fully understand, what type of eating disorder or eating concern there is that your partner is facing. Once I kind of understood like what your true eating disorder was, and I had taken time to talk and listen to you, it still was extremely hard to be able to fully relate when, I've always been able to just be like, okay, I want to eat this or I don't want to eat that. Where when it came to, working and being with you, it definitely seemed like it was something I was going to have to spend time trying to fully understand and know what I could and could not say, we could and could not eat, what we could and could not do as well.
When I was going through my healing process and you were getting, I guess, more supportive and trying to be that person for me, do you feel like there's something that you said that like, or maybe even did, that totally flopped? Like you meant well, but like I got like pissed off? Or like, is there a moment that you can think of that didn't really go the way that you had planned?
Yeah, I mean, there's always gonna be moments like that, and it's not that I thought it would flop, but one I think moment is we had gone out, and I think I had ordered you something to eat. I don't know what restaurant it was, but I had ordered you something, or we had gone and we had tried to pick up something from the grocery store. And I tend not to look at like the calories. And I think we had gotten something that was a little higher calorie that you weren't normally used to. And when we had finished making everything and we had gotten everything together and you actually looked at it, it did kind of trigger you because it was a higher calorie than you had anticipated. And it wasn't like I had tried to purposely do that. It's just me being, a guy. I just, thought I'd go out and do all the grocery shopping and, try to cook something nice when we were going long distance and when we first moved in together. And it looked like I had just purposefully tried to make it a higher calorie meal. But in reality, I was just trying to cook something nice for when you got home.
Yeah, so I thought you were out to get me. That's what it sounds like.
Listen, I absolutely love you, but that was not the intent that time.
Well, I feel like you've obviously gotten a lot more comfortable talking about this stuff. And, thankfully I'm at a much better place now. We don't have as many conversations, but topics still come up. But what advice would you give someone who's supporting a partner through like their healing journey? So if you were going to talk to someone else's partner, if they were, dating someone that was struggling with food, like what would you say to them to help them?
Patience. Patience is the biggest key. And then the second is space. The reason I say patience for the first key is because you're going to go out to dinner and you're going to have to sit there. And there may be times where they may have to look at the menu a couple of hours before you go out to eat. They may also need to spend time when you're at the actual restaurant looking over the menu again. When you're at the grocery store, they're going to need time to make sure they look at every ingredient, to make sure they look at all the calories. And you're just going to have to kind of be there, be supportive, and wait. And tell them when they're looking at all these items that it's okay, that you want them to feel comfortable. The second item is space. When someone is going through something like this and they're trying to, cope with everything and try to heal from this, you can't rush that process. That process does take time and you've got to let them run its course. You got to let them take their time and take the time they need to truly heal. Because if you try to force that healing process, it's only going to cover up some of the issues that are at hand, and then they're going to have resentment. And I think once you have someone who resents you, especially someone who's trying to heal and trust you, I don't think you can get that trust back.
Wow, very powerful. So you did kind of honestly even tell us like what not to do too, I feel like, through that. And I feel like kind of thinking now to where I am, because obviously, I am in a healed place. I think a lot of the conversation so far has been when I was still very stuck and I was still very unhealthy and I was, still dealing with a lot of my eating disorder kind of backlash happening. So since I've gotten to a better place, how have you seen me change since I did truly start healing and kind of through the process? Like, how have you seen just me adjust and adapt, maybe as a person, maybe in our relationship?
I mean, can kind of take a little bit of each scenario and kind of each part of your life. We'll start with like our relationship. We definitely have gotten you to a place where you feel more comfortable, where most of our meals, we're cooking the same exact thing. We're cooking for each other. You're allowing me to cook for you now, which is a huge thing. I can just kind of cook what I want. And now we can kind of get, the same meals going. But it also kind of gives you more energy for us to do like the ins and out of our relationship, just being outside and doing all the things we love to do. For you personally, you're so much stronger in the gym than you are when we first met. You're able to dance in multiple companies. You're able just to go out on a 4-mile run at whenever you feel like it. So you definitely as a person has grown a whole lot stronger, a whole lot fitter, and truly enjoy, who you are right now. And then just as like another personal idea, you have a business now where you can talk about these struggling things, these issues and this disorder that has kind of been with you for a while and with you, and has just kind of made you a whole better person to where you can actually get on and talk in front of other people. You can get out there and share your story with anyone who wants to hear you. You're also okay with being like a face of the eating disorder community, telling them like, this is my story, this is where I've been, this is my lowest, but I'm also at my highest now. So, being able to kind of show off those levels and different sides of you is kind of like how strong, how strong you are and how you've overcome some of these, I don't want to say problems, but, an eating disorder, it is a big deal. And, I think you've done a great job of getting to where you're at now.
Well, thank you. And obviously, I couldn't have done it without having your support. I feel like I am very grateful and blessed that I found someone through this process that was supportive, because I know that if you have others in your life that are kind of fighting on it, can make it that much harder. But I know that you even reference kind of the fact that we cook together now. And I just would love for you to tell the listeners what meal prepping used to look like for us versus now. I feel like now we're so efficient. We're helping each other out. We're kind of prepping a lot of the same stuff. It's in and out, done in 2 hours. Like, what did meal prepping used to look like?
All right, y'all. Y'all not going to believe me on this one, but we can meal prep almost 20 meals. That's breakfast, lunch, and dinner for both of us in less than about 2.5 hours. We've got it down to a science. We're helping each other. We're still cooking different meals all the time, but we've got it down to a T. That's what meal prepping looks like for us now. Meal prepping did not always look like that. Meal prepping at one time looked at starting around 10 o'clock on Sunday and finishing at around 3 or 4 o'clock that Sunday. And that meant, having to take time. We were measuring out every cup of rice, every cup of green beans, broccoli. We were measuring the chicken. We were doing every ounce down to the precise T, just making sure that every piece of meat, every veggie, every grain that we were using was to the gram able to be logged. We would spend time making sure when we were using even seasonings, just to make sure like everything we had was exact, so that way we could make sure everything was logged correctly. And because of that, we would spend so much time just measuring out and remeasuring and washing and then trying to make sure we had the exact amount. And it just got to the point where it was draining, where, we would spend so much time, and at the end of the day, even sometimes when we were measuring, we were still sometimes off and not exactly where we needed to be, which is why we're now at this point where we can kind of eyeball everything, we can meal prep, and we can do it together. It just makes life so much easier on that point.
Do you feel like we have just more time in our relationship now and time to enjoy each other and time to actually focus on things that, we should be talking about and putting more focus on in our relationship? Do you feel like that time is freed up a lot?
Yeah, I would say that a lot of that time that we did spend, making sure everything was exact, we have gotten back. I would say, with us having our little baby girl, Brandy, we are able to kind of enjoy life more with her. We're able to, be able to spend more time with friends and family. And it also just kind of gives us more time back in our day to kind of do individual things as well. When you're spending, 5-6 hours trying to meal prep, and there's only so many hours in a day, there's only but so much you can do with that time. And now having that time back, one, we're both so much happier. We have the time to spend with each other still, but we're doing it in a more loving, productive way than sitting there counting out each grain of rice, each ounce of chicken. We're sitting there actually enjoying life.
And now that we've kind of gotten to this place, what's a moment that now feels totally normal for us, but, maybe in the past felt like it was like unimaginable and you never saw us ever really being able to do?
One of the moments that I would definitely say is either the amount that we cook together now or the fact that we do share ice cream every now and then, where we can actually have like a carton of ice cream and we literally just sit on the sofa with our ice cream, watching our favorite TV shows, and just not really having a care in the world. We're sharing a dessert and we're making sure that everything for us is going absolutely fantastic. And it's so nice to be able to have those moments where we're literally just laughing, joking, having ice cream when 2, 3 years ago, I was like, okay, maybe we can have a piece of chocolate that's low calorie, dark chocolate, and 100 calories.
Yeah, definitely feel like just the things that we've been able to do. And honestly, I just feel like our conversations have changed a lot in the sense that probably I would say like, 75% at least of our conversations before would be around what I ate or how I was feeling or that I was fat and you needing to constantly reassure me. And obviously, like, I might still have those moments that come up with body image, like those are never going to fully go away. But I feel like the amount of time that we're able to just talk about other things and other interests has really increased for sure as, we've gone on. And one thing I would love for you as we kind of wrap up to kind of help with is what would you like to say to maybe the woman listening who feels like no one understands her and maybe has never met anyone that she feels like she could talk to about these things?
For any lady, any woman, any girl out there that feels like they aren't being heard, you got to just make sure to use your voice, whether that be, reaching out to another female friend, reaching out to a clinic, just reaching out to somebody, because believe it or not, there's always somebody who you're going to be able to relate to. And if you can't relate to that person, they may know somebody who you can relate to. The world is a crazy place. And if you need help, all you have to do most of the time is ask. The internet is a wonderful place now. You can find out so many great resources. You can find so many wonderful coaches. You have one right here. I'm so lucky to have one as my wife. She is reachable all the time, but you just need to make sure you find somebody, whether it's a friend, whether it's a therapist, whether it's, a coach, just somebody where you don't have to feel like you have to walk alone. Just somebody to be there to say, hey, it's okay. You're going to get through this. You just need to wake up, say it's okay, find that person to talk to, and you'll be all right.
Well, I'm sure everyone appreciated hearing that. And to your point, like you are never alone, even when it feels like it. I mean, before I met Trey, I never thought that I would meet someone that would understand and accept me for everything. And, I've obviously learned that there are good people out there and there are people that are going to be in your corner and really help you through this healing journey and help you get out of it. Because really no one should have to live long term with this horrible relationship with food. And finding, whether it's support of a partner or just support of a friend or like, you said, even finding just resources online, there's always people out there that will be able to support you and listen. And the one thing that I want to do as we finish up this episode is let you ask me a question. Is there anything that you would like to ask me? No wrong answers.
I'll ask you a question. My question is, with everything that we've been through now, what's one thing you would tell a spouse, significant other, what they're in for with someone who has an eating disorder? What's some advice that you would give me if you could go back in time and give me some advice?
I don't know. I guess advice is the word, but I think what I would say is, be prepared to upset that person. Be prepared to maybe say the wrong things, maybe do the wrong things. Like, just know that even if they melt down crying, even if they're yelling at you that you did everything wrong, which I've probably done a lot of times to you, that doesn't mean that they don't appreciate the support and you really are making a big difference. I feel like so much of the time with eating disorders that it's, we have this perfectionistic mindset, and I think it's good to have a partner sometimes that does challenge you, and even if it does result in maybe that person going into a rage or getting upset that they did go over their calories and crying, like, honestly, I will say, like, those mini challenges do add up and they actually do help towards healing. So even all the times that maybe Trey was talking about where, like, it didn't go how he anticipated and maybe it did make me upset, like, that did help me grow, and it also helped give me perspective that I needed to make the necessary changes to get out of this because I didn't want to continue to affect my relationship. And I think as long as you have patience, like he said, then you both can work through it and I think come out much stronger on the other side. I feel like obviously a lot of our communication started around food, but I think our communication in general now is just very, very strong. So I think that there is a lot to be gained from kind of the journey that we've had to go on. But I want to thank you, Trey. It sounds so weird to call you by name, but thank you, babe, for coming on the podcast. And I hope that you enjoyed your first little feature. Hopefully you're less nervous now. Maybe we can have you again. You can ask me some questions.
No, I really do appreciate you being able to be the first guest on here. And no, I just want to say thank you to you. And the reason I want to say thank you is I think all your listeners would go ahead and appreciate everything that you're doing and everything you've done for them. So thank you on that, Gena. I really do appreciate everything. So,
all right, we're out.
Peace out, y'all.
Thank you so much for tuning into the Fit Without Obsession podcast. If this episode helped you heal, grow, or just feel a little less alone, go ahead and hit the follow button so that you never miss a moment of this journey. And if you loved it, share it on your stories and tag me at @thefitbean_. I seriously love seeing what resonates. Sharing this podcast helps more women step out of a session and into their power. And that ripple effect starts with you. And if you're ready for deeper support, check the show notes for ways that we can work together. Just remember, eat the pasta, wear the shorts, and love the hell out of your life. You deserve it always. Talk soon.